Hey guys, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm talking about new releases that are coming out in July, August, and September. So this is a video that I have been doing every 3 months, so each quarter of the year, talking about a bunch of new releases that are going to be coming out that I'm very excited for. And if you've been watching my channel for any time semi-recently, you know books are like a huge part of my life, so much so that I am excited for way too many books. I have 65 books to talk to you guys about today that are coming out in July, August, and September. So we're gonna jump right on in. Most of these I don't know much off the top of my head because that's just not the type of reader I am. I will be reading the synopsis from Goodreads as long as it's not like a sequel type of thing. And yeah, we have to jump on in pretty darn quickly because 65 books, way too many to talk about. And yes, I am actually excited, genuinely excited for every single one. So there is one book coming out on July 1st that I'm excited for, and it is Have We Met by Camille Baker. What if you've already met the soulmate you were destined to be with and you didn't even know it? After losing her best friend to cancer, Corinne's life is in flux. She has moved back to Chicago, is considering her next career move or temp job, and has absolutely no time to look for love until a mysterious dating app called Met suddenly appears on her phone, and with it an invitation for Corinne to reconnect with 4 missed connections from her past. One of them, Met says, is her soulmate. Corinne doesn't believe the app for a second, but when she very quickly finds herself with back-to-back blasts from the past, she'll have to consider if maybe she was wrong about it. The thing is, Corinne's also been introduced to a really great guy outside the app's influence. As their feelings for each other grow, Corinne has to wonder, with her apparent true love still out there, should she tap yes to the next match? With help from a new group of friends, her loving if annoying family, and maybe a touch of fate, can Corinne come to terms with the loss she's still reeling from, take control of her career, and find love along the way? Moving to July 6th, there are 4 books. The first one is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. 3 days, 2 girls, 1 life-changing music festival. Olivia is an expert at falling in love and at being dumped, but after the fallout from her last breakup has left her an outcast at school and at home, she's determined to turn over a new leaf. A crush-free weekend at Farmland Music and Arts Festival with her best friend is just what she needs to get her mind off the senior year that awaits her. Tony is 1 week away from starting college, and it's the last place she wants to be. Unsure about who she wants to become and still reeling in the wake of the loss of her musician-turned-roadie father, she's heading back to the music festival that changed his life in hopes that following in his footsteps will help her find her own way forward. When the two arrive at Farmland, the last thing they expect is to realize that they'll need to join forces in order to get what they're searching for out of the weekend. As they work together, the festival becomes so much more complicated than they bargained for, and Olivia and Tony will find that they need each other and music more than they ever could have imagined. Then we have 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Shiori, the only princess of Kiata, has a secret. Forbidden magic runs through her veins. Normally, she conceals it well, but on the morning of her betrothal ceremony, Shiori loses control. At first, her mistake seems like a stroke of luck, forestalling the wedding she never wanted. But it also catches the attention of Raikama, her stepmother. Raikama has dark magic of her own, and she banishes the young princess, turning her brothers into cranes and warning Shiori that she must speak of it to no one. For with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. Penniless, voiceless, and alone, Shiori searches for her brothers and on her journey uncovers a conspiracy to overtake the throne. A conspiracy more twisted and deceitful, more cunning and complex than even Raikama's betrayal. Only Shiori can set the kingdom to rights, but to do so she must place her trust in the very boy she fought so hard not to marry. And she must embrace the magic that she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs her. The next one here is A Court of Honey and Ash by Shannon Mayer and Kelly St. Clair. This is actually going to be our group read for the Indie Accords readathon, just so you guys know. That is a readathon that I am actually a team captain of that is happening all through July, and this new book here is going to be the group read. Orphaned, trained to fight, raised to fear the power of Underhill. Secretly in love with a man who doesn't want me. I'm still just Allie, aka the half-human orphan fae, but my life is looking up for the first time. It only took me my whole 24 years, but when Underhill, the ancestral home of the fae, shatters, making it impossible for any fae to enter, I'm the only one who knows who did it. A secret that will be the death of me if I do nothing. A brutal madness spreads through the Fae as they lose their connection to Underhill, and to save my people, my only choice is to leave all I have fought for and go on the run. Unless I figure out how the hell magic that has existed since the dawn of time was destroyed with a single touch, well, an entire life spent fighting to prove myself isn't going to mean anything at all. I must find the answer to the riddle of Underhill's shattering, hunted by the very man I loved once upon a time. And then we also have Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. So this is going to be the Lady of Shalott retelling, so from Arthurian legend. Everyone knows the legend of Arthur destined to be a king, of the beautiful Guinevere who will betray him with his most loyal knight Lancelot, of the bitter sorceress Morgana who will turn against them all. But Elaine alone carries the burden of knowing what is to come, for Elaine of Shalott is cursed to see the future. On the mystical Isle of Avalon, Elaine runs free and learns of the ancient prophecies surrounding her and her friends, countless possibilities, almost all of them tragic. When their future comes to claim them, Elaine, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Morgana accompany Arthur to take his throne in stifling Camelot, where magic is outlawed. The rules of society chain them, and enemies are everywhere. Yet the most dangerous threats may come from within their own circle. As visions are fulfilled and an inevitable fate closes in, Elaine must decide how far she will go to change fate and what she is willing to sacrifice along the way. I absolutely love King Arthur stuff, so yes. Moving to July 13th, I have 6 titles that I'm excited for. The first one is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. So this one is Get Out meets Danielle Vega. I absolutely love Danielle Vega's YA horror, so I'm very, very excited. Jake Livingston is one of the only black kids at St. Clair Prep, one of the others being his infinitely more popular older brother. It's hard enough fitting in, but to make matters worse, and definitely more complicated, Jake can see the dead. In fact, he sees the dead around him all the time. Most are harmless, stuck in their death loops as they relive their deaths over and over again. They don't interact often with people. But then Jake meets Sawyer, a troubled teen who shot and killed 6 kids at a local high school last year before taking his own life. Now a powerful, vengeful ghost, he has plans for his afterlife. Plans that include Jake. Suddenly, everything Jake knows about ghosts and the rules to life itself go out the window as Sawyer begins haunting him and bodies turn up in his neighborhood. High school soon becomes a survival game. One Jake is not sure he's going to win. We also have While We Were Dating by Jasmine Guillory. This is the 6th book in the Wedding Date series. However, these are all companion novels. I have not read any of the other ones in this series, but I definitely need to, and I'm excited for this one. Ben Stevens has never bothered with serious relationships. He has plenty of casual dates to keep him busy, family drama he's trying to ignore, and his advertising job to focus on. When Ben lands a huge ad campaign featuring movie star Anna Gardner, however, it's hard to keep it purely professional. Anna is not just gorgeous and sexy, she's also down to earth and considerate, and he can't help flirting a little. Anna Gardner is on a mission to make herself a household name, and this ad campaign will be a great distraction while she waits to hear if she's booked her next movie. However, she didn't expect Ben Stevens to be her biggest distraction. She knows mixing business with pleasure never works out, but why not indulge in a harmless flirtation? But their lighthearted banter takes a turn for the serious when Ben helps Anna in a family emergency, and they reveal truths about themselves to each other, truths they barely shared with those closest to them. When the opportunity comes to turn their real-life fling into something more for the Hollywood spotlight, will Ben be content to play the background role in Anna's life and leave when the cameras stop rolling? Or could he be the leading man she needs to craft their own Hollywood ending? Then we have the Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I am excited and nervous about this one, only because it sounds very familiar to me to The Final Girls by Riley Sager. So we'll see. But I actually really, really love this cover as well. In horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll, the one who fought back, defeated the killer, and avenged her friends, the one who emerges bloodied but victorious. But after the sirens fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre 22 years ago, and it has defined every day of her life since. And she's not alone. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other actual final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives back together piece by piece. That is until one of the women misses a meeting and Lynette's worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart again piece by piece. But the thing about these final girls is that they have each other now, and no matter how bad the odds, how dark the night, how sharp the knife, they will never, ever give up. Next, we have Flashfire by TJ Klune. This is the sequel to The Extraordinaries, which I did read last year, gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is a very intriguing one because it is a queer coming-of-age story about a fan of superheroes who does also have ADHD, and I really did appreciate the ADHD rep in the first book. I do know that some people have questioned the first book because it does elevate the police to a certain extent. However, I do know that it was written and came out before a lot of the big stuff that happened last year in 2020, and TJ Klune did say that those events last year shaped how the second book was written and the stuff that goes on in this book. So I have not read this one yet, obviously, but I am curious about it. I liked the first one. It definitely ended in such a way that like I need the second one. And then we also have XOXO by Axio. Cello prodigy Jenny has one goal: to get into a prestigious music conservatory. When she meets mysterious, handsome Jay Woo in her uncle's Los Angeles karaoke bar, it's clear he's the kind of boy who would uproot her careful plans. But in a moment of spontaneity, she allows him to pull her out of her comfort zone for one unforgettable night of adventure before he disappears without a word. 3 months later, when Jenny and her mother arrive in South Korea to take care of her ailing grandmother, she's shocked to discover that Jay Woo is a student at the same elite arts academy where she enrolled for the semester. And he's not just any student. He's a member of one of the biggest K-pop bands in the world, and he's strictly forbidden from dating. When a relationship means throwing Jenny's life off the path she's spent years mapping out, she'll have to decide once and for all just how much she's willing to risk for love. And finally, we have Pause by Kylie Scott. This one I do believe came out originally as an Audible exclusive, but it is now going to be coming out in ebook form as well. When Anna wakes up from a coma after a car crash, she discovers life has gone on without her. Her husband has been unfaithful with her best friend, and she's been long since replaced at work. While her old life is a distant memory, her new life feels like an empty shell. Then she meets the stranger who saved her life during the crash, and he changes everything. Leif Larson, tattooist, joker, and player, has his own scars thanks to the crash that put Anna in a coma. Helping her move on from her failed marriage and create a new life sounds like a perfect distraction. So when he needs a new roommate, he invites Anna to begin her new life with him. Although their lives may have been put on pause, together they just might find a way to heal. Then we have 2 books for July 20th. The first is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is Mulan, which is my absolute favorite Disney movie of all time, meets The Song of Achilles, which I also loved, so yes. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, 2 children are given 2 fates: a boy, greatness; a girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. When the Zhu family's 8th-born son, Zhu Chongba, is given a fate of greatness, everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. When a bandit attack orphans the 2 children, though, it is Zhu Chongba who succumbs to despair and dies. Desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, Zhu learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes, no matter how callous, to stay hidden from her fate. After her sanctuary is destroyed for supporting the rebellion against Mongol rule, Zhu takes the chance to claim another future altogether: her brother's abandoned greatness. And then we have the Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. Long ago, Nathan lived in a house in the country with his abusive father and has never told his family what happened there. Long ago, Maddie was a little girl making dolls in her bedroom when she saw something she shouldn't have, and is trying to remember that lost trauma by making haunting sculptures. Long ago, something sinister, something hungry, walked in the tunnels and the mountains and the coal mines of their hometown in rural Pennsylvania. Now Nate and Maddie Graves are married, and they have moved back to their hometown with their son Oliver. And now what happened long ago is happening again, and it is happening to Oliver. He meets a strange boy who becomes his best friend, a boy with secrets of his own and a taste for dark magic. This dark magic puts them at the heart of a battle of good versus evil and a fight for the soul of the family and perhaps for all of the world. But the Graves family has a secret weapon in this battle: their love for one another. Moving to July 27th, I have 3 books. So the first one we have here is Boys Run the Riot Volume 2 by Keito Gaku. This is the 2nd volume in a 4-volume manga series. The first one I actually read last month. absolutely fell in love with it. 5 out of 5 stars. This one follows a trans teen who is trying to deal with his identity in school, his culture, his family, that kind of stuff. And when there is a new boy in class, they decide to start a clothing brand. The author is also trans mask, and I just absolutely loved the first volume, so I definitely need this second one. Then we have Once and Future Volume 3, The Parliament of Magpies by Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. So this is another series that I have definitely been reading and enjoying. This is a bind-up of comics, and it is the 3rd volume. The first volume, and the second one as well, actually, basically follow Duncan and his grandmother, Bridget. She is my absolute favorite character. She used to be like a monster hunter, and there are people trying to bring King Arthur back from the dead, and he's not a nice guy. Like, he is the bad guy, definitely wants to change a whole lot of shit up. I'm very, very excited for this 3rd volume. And then I also have It's Raining Men by Julie Hammerl. So this one says, don't drink and text. Even on the cusp of 40, I had to learn that the hard way. After discovering my best friend, who I was supposed to grow old and single with, got engaged, I drowned my loneliness in one too many old fashions and woke up with 39 responses from every available man in my phone. Yep, I even texted my plumber and he turned me down. Apparently, my liquor-infused text said that while I don't need a man, maybe I'd be down for a constant sidekick for movies, +1 invites, and dinner on the table after my grueling shifts as a concierge doctor, till death do us part. And was anyone in? Through the absolute mortification of 37 rejections, shockingly, I realized 2 men have said yes. Behind bachelor door number 1 is Rob, my old high school crush, the comfortable, dependable boy next door. Behind door number 2 is Darius, the exciting, flashy news reporter about to hit it big. Does this mean I'll have to get out of my yoga pants and actually go on dates now? Dax, the local bartender who got me into this disaster in the first place, remember the old fashions? Can't believe I've given up on finding true love. What does a tattooed, broody 20-something know about carving out a future for yourself anyway? Too bad the further into this hot mess I get, the less I know about who I am, and I'm going to have to figure out exactly what I need if I ever want to find a true happily ever after. Moving into August, on August 1st, there is one book, and this is The Grimrose Girls by Laura Pohl. 4 troubled friends, 1 murdered girl, and a dark fate that may leave them all doomed. After the mysterious death of their best friend, Ella, Yuki, and Rory are the talk of their elite school, Grimrose Academy. The police ruled it a suicide, but the trio are determined to find out what really happened. When Nani Esses arrives as their newest roommate, it sets into motion a series of events they couldn't have imagined. As the girls retrace their friends' last steps, they uncover dark secrets about themselves and their destinies, discovering they're all cursed to repeat the brutal and gruesome endings to their stories until they can break the cycle. This contemporary take on classic fairy tales reimagines heroines as friends attending the same school. While investigating the murder of their best friend, they uncover connections to their ancient fairy tale curses and attempt to forge their own fate before it's too late. And then we have 8 books coming out on August 3rd. The first is All's Well by Mona Awad. Miranda Fitch's life is a walking nightmare. The accident that ended her burgeoning acting career left her with excruciating chronic back pain, a failed marriage, and a deepening dependence on painkillers. And now she's on the verge of losing her job as a college theater director. Determined to put on Shakespeare All's Well That Ends Well, the play that promised and cost her everything, she faces a mutinous cast hell-bent on staging Macbeth instead. Miranda sees her chance at redemption slip through her fingers. That's when she meets 3 strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible, doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. Then we have The Dead in the Dark by Courtney Gold. The dark has been waiting far too long, and it won't stay hidden any longer. Something is wrong in Snakebite, Oregon. Teenagers are disappearing, some turning up dead, the weather isn't normal, and all fingers seem to point to TV's most popular ghost hunters who have just returned to town. Logan Ortiz Woodley, daughter of TV's Paris Specters, has never been to Snakebite before, but the moment she and her dads arrive, she starts to get the feeling that there's more secrets buried here than they originally let on. Ashley Barton's boyfriend was the first teen to go missing, and she felt his presence ever since. But now that the Ortiz Woodleys are in town, his ghost is following her, and the only person Ashley can trust is the mysterious Logan. When Ashley and Logan team up to figure out who or what is haunting Snakebite, their investigation reveals truths about the town, their families, and themselves that neither of them are ready for. As the danger intensifies, they realize that their growing feelings for each other could be a light in the darkness. Then we have A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Felicity Morrow is back at Dalloway School. Perched in the Catskill Mountains, the centuries-old, ivy-covered campus was home until the tragic death of her girlfriend. Now, after a year away, she's returned to graduate. She even has her old room in Godwin House, the exclusive dormitory rumored to be haunted by the spirits of 5 Dalloway students. Girls, some say, were witches. The Dalloway 5 all died mysteriously, one after another, right on Godwin grounds. Witchcraft is woven into Dalloway's history. The school doesn't talk about it, but the students do. In secret rooms and shadowy corners, girls convene. And before her girlfriend died, Felicity was drawn to the dark. She's determined to leave that behind her now. All Felicity wants to do is focus on her senior thesis and graduate. But it's hard when Dalloway's occult history is everywhere, and when the new girl won't let her forget. It's Ellis Haley's first year at Dalloway, and she's already amassed a loyal following. A prodigy novelist at 17, Ellis is a so-called method writer. She's eccentric and brilliant, and Felicity can't shake the pull she feels to her. So when Ellis asks Felicity to help research the Dalloway 5 for her book, Felicity can't say no. Given her history with the arcane, Felicity is the perfect resource, and when history begins to repeat itself, Felicity will have to face the darkness in Dalloway and in herself. Then we also have If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. After having just graduated with a degree in shoe design and trying to get her feet on the ground, Cindy is working for her stepmother, who happens to be the executive producer of America's favorite reality show, Before Midnight. When a spot on the show needs filling ASAP, Cindy volunteers, hoping it might help jumpstart her fashion career, or at least give her something to do while her peers land jobs in the world of high fashion. Turns out, being the only plus-size woman on a reality dating competition makes a splash, and soon Cindy becomes a body positivity icon for women everywhere. What she doesn't expect? That she may just find inspiration and love in the process. Ultimately, Cindy learns that if the shoe doesn't fit, maybe it's time to design your own. And I do believe this is going to be a sort of Cinderella retelling. I'm very excited to see how this one is going to turn out. Then we have Mercury Boys by Chandra Prashad. After her life is upended by divorce and a cross-country move, 16-year-old Saskia Brown feels like an outsider at her new school. Not only is she a transplant, she's biracial in a population of mostly white students. One day, while visiting her only friend at her part-time library job, Saskia encounters a vial of liquid mercury, then touches an old daguerreotype, the precursor of the modern-day photograph, and makes a startling discovery. She is somehow able to visit the man in the portrait, Robert Cornelius, a brilliant young inventor from the 19th century. The hitch? She can see him only in her dreams. Saskia shares her revelation with some classmates, hoping to find connection and friendship among strangers. Under her guidance, the other girls steal portraits of young men from a local college's daguerreotype collection and try the dangerous experiment for themselves. Soon they each form a bond with their own Mercury Boy, from an injured Union soldier to a charming pickpocket in New York City. At night, the girls visit the boys in their dreams. During the day, they hold clandestine meetings of their new secret society. At first, the Mercury Boys Club is a thrilling diversion from their troubled everyday lives, but it's not long before jealousy, violence, and secrets threaten everything the girls hold dear. Then we have What's Up Beanie by Alina Taiso. This is going to be a collection of comics. I follow this artist on Instagram, and I have for a while, and so I'm just very, very excited to see these because I absolutely love the ones that I have seen on Instagram. Then we have Fresh by Margot Wood. Some students enter their freshman year of college knowing exactly what they want to do with their lives. Elliot McHugh is not one of those people, but picking a major is the last thing on Elliot's mind when she's too busy experiencing all that college has to offer, from dancing all night at off-campus parties to testing her RA Rosa's patience to making new friends to having the best sex one can have on a twin-sized dorm room bed. But she may not be ready for the fallout when reality hits. When the sex she's having isn't that great, when finals creep up and smack her right in the face, or when her roommate's boyfriend turns out to be the biggest a-hole. Elliot may make epic mistakes, but if she's honest with herself and with you, dear reader, she may just find the person she wants to be and maybe even fall in love in the process. Well, maybe. And then finally, for this date, we have How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. Nancy Luo is shocked when her former best friend, Jamie Ron, top-ranked junior at Sinclair Prep, goes missing and then is found dead. Nancy is even more shocked when word starts to spread that she and her friends, Crystal, Akil, and Alexander, are prime suspects thanks to the Proctor, someone anonymously incriminating them via the school's social media app. They all used to be Jamie's closest friends, and she knew each of their deepest, darkest secrets. Now, somehow, the Proctor knows them too. The four must uncover the true killer before the Proctor exposes more than they can bear and costs them more than they can afford, like Nancy's full scholarship. Soon, Nancy suspects that her friends may be keeping secrets from her too. And then on August 10th, we have two books. The first is The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovolino. When Tess and Elliot stumble upon an ancient book hidden in a secret tunnel beneath the school library, they accidentally release a devil from his book-bound prison, and he'll stop at nothing to stay free. He'll manipulate all the ink in the library books to do his bidding. He'll murder in the stacks, and he'll bleed into every inch of Tess's life until his freedom is permanent. Forced to work together, Tess and Elliot have to find a way to re-trap the devil before he kills everyone they know and love, including, increasingly, each other. And compared to what the devil has in store for them, school stress suddenly doesn't seem so... This is one of those ones where the Goodreads summary doesn't continue, but I'm very excited. A devil in a library, like, come on. And then we also have The Other Me by Sarah Zachrich Jeng. Two lives, the one you wanted, the one that wanted you. Her birthday should be like any other night. 1 minute, Kelly's a free-spirited artist in Chicago doing her best friend's art show. The next, she opens a door and mysteriously emerges in her Michigan hometown. Suddenly, her life is unrecognizable. She's got 12 years of the wrong memories in her head, and she's married to Eric, a man she barely knew in high school. Racing to get back to her old life, Kelly's search leads only to more questions. In this life, she loves Eric and wants to trust him, but everything she discovers about him, including a connection to a mysterious tech startup, tells her she shouldn't. And strange things keep happening. The tattoos she had when she was an artist briefly reappear on her skin. She remembers fights with Eric that he says never happened, and her relationship with loved ones, both new and familiar, seem to change without warning. But the closer Kelly gets to putting these pieces together, the more her reality seems to shift, and if she can't figure out what happened on her birthday, the next change could cost her everything. And then there are 5 books coming out on August 17th. The first one is Censor by Junji Ito. So this one looks like a new, bigger tale from Junji Ito. Some of the more recent ones that I've read from him have been short story collections, but this looks like one tale. And this says, horror master Junji Ito explores a new frontier with a grand cosmic horror tale in which a mysterious woman has her way with the world. Did she wander in, or was she drawn in? A woman walks alone at the foot of Mount Sengoku. A man appears, saying he has been waiting for her, and invites her to a nearby village. Surprisingly, the village is covered in hair-like volcanic glass fibers, and all of it shines a bright gold. At night, when the villagers perform their custom of gazing up at the starry sky, countless unidentified flying objects come raining down on them, the opening act for the terror about to occur. And then we have Me, Moth by Amber McBride. Moth has lost her family in an accident. Though she lives with her aunt, she feels alone and uprooted, until she meets Sonny, a boy who is also searching for his roots. If he knows more about where he comes from, maybe he'll be able to understand his ongoing depression. And if Moth can help him feel grounded, then perhaps she too will discover the history she carries in her bones. Moth and Sonny take a road trip that has them chasing ghosts and searching for ancestors. The way each moves forward is surprising, powerful, and unforgettable. Here is an exquisite and uplifting novel about identity, first love, and the ways that our memories and our roots steer us through the universe. And then we have Battle Royal by Lucy Parker. Ready. 4 years ago, Sylvie Fairchild charmed the world as a contestant on the hit baking show Operation Cake. Her ingenious, colorful creations captivated viewers and intrigued all but one of the judges, Dominic De Vere, the hottest pastry chef in London. When her glittery unicorn cake went spectacularly sideways, Dominic was quick to vote her off the show. Since then, Sylvie has managed to use her fame to help fulfill her dream of opening a bakery, Sugar Fair. The toast of Instagram, Sugar Fair has captured the attention of the Operation Cake producers and a princess. Set. Dominic is His Majesty the King's favorite baker, the go-to for sweet-toothed A-list celebrities, and a veritable British institution. He's brilliant, talented, hardworking, and an icy, starchy grouch. Learning that the irksome Sylvie will be joining him on the Operation Cake judging panel is enough to make the famously dour baker even more grim. Her fantastical baking is only slightly more troublesome than the fact that he can't stop thinking about her pink-streaked hair and irrepressible dimple. Match. When Dominic and Sylvie learn that they will be fighting for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bake a cake for the upcoming wedding of Princess Rose, the flower begins to fly as they've both determined to come out on top. The bride adores Sylvie's quirky style. The palace wants Dominic's classic perfection. In this royal battle, can there be room for two? And then we have Requiem of Silence by L. Penelope. This is the fourth and final book in the Earthsinger Chronicles. The first one was Song of Blood and Stone that I read earlier this year. Absolutely fell in love with, and so I have not read book 2 or 3 yet, but book 4 is coming out. The first book follows two kingdoms who are separated by a magical mantle. One side has magic, the power of Earthsong, and the other one does not, and the mantle is cracking. Jasminda, who is one of our main characters, finds a spy who is sent to go spy on the people that have Earthsong, and comes to find out that the king of that kingdom is trying to break the mantle to come and take over. This is a fantasy romance, and yes, absolutely love the first one, need to continue in the series, and the fourth and final book is coming out. And then we also have The Dating Playbook by Farah Roshan. This is the second book in the Boyfriend Project series. I have the first one, haven't read that one yet, but this is also going to be more of a companion novel. When it comes to personal training, Taylor Powell kicks serious butt. Unfortunately, her bills are piling up, rent is due, and the money situation is dire. Taylor needs more than the support of her new best friends, Samaya and London. She needs a miracle, and Jamar Dixon might just be it. The oh-so-fine former footballer wants back into the NFL, and he wants Taylor to train him. There's just one catch. No one can know what they're doing. But when they're accidentally outed as a couple, Taylor's game plan is turned completely upside down. Is Jamar just playing to win, or is he playing for keeps? And then there's one book coming out on August 19th, and that is going to be A Dance with the Fae Prince by Elise Kova. This is the second book in the Married to Magic series. The first one, which was a deal with the Elf King. And there's not much of a synopsis up quite yet. It's going to be in that same world, but I do believe this is also a companion novel, and it just says a young woman is taken captive by a disarmingly handsome fae after she witnesses a ritual not meant for human eyes in the dead of night. And then there are two books coming out on August 24th. The first one is Radiant Black Volume 1 by Kyle Higgins. This one looks like it's going to be probably a comic bind-up. Nathan Burnett has just turned 30 and things aren't great. He's working and failing at 2 jobs, his credit card debt is piling up, and his only move is moving back home with his parents. But when Nathan discovers the ethereal cosmic Radiant, he's given the power to radically change his fortunes, unless the cosmic beings who created them succeed in taking them back by any means necessary. Oh, and did we mention there's a Red Radiant who wants Nathan dead? And then we also have Bad Witch Burning by Jessica Lewis. Catrell doesn't mind talking to the dead, she just wishes it made more money. Clients pay her to talk to their deceased loved ones, but it isn't enough to support her unemployed mother and mom's deadbeat boyfriend of the week. Things get worse when a ghost warns her to stop the summonings or she'll burn everything down. Catrell is willing to call them on their bluff though. She has no choice. What do ghosts know about eating peanut butter for dinner? However, when her next summoning accidentally raises someone from the dead, Catrell realizes that a live body is worth a lot more than a dead apparition. And, warning or not, she has no intention of letting this lucrative new business go. But magic doesn't come for free, and soon dark forces are closing in on Catrell. The further she goes, the more she risks the lives of not only herself, but those she loves. Catrell faces a choice: resign herself to poverty or confront the darkness before it's too late. And then moving into August 31st, I have 3 books here. The first is The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient series, which again are companion novels. When violinist Anna Sun accidentally achieves career success with a viral YouTube video, she finds herself incapacitated and burned out from her attempts to replicate that moment. And when her longtime boyfriend announces he wants an open relationship before making a final commitment, a hurt and angry Anna decides that if he wants an open relationship, then she does too. Translation: she's going to embark on a string of one-night stands. The more unacceptable the men, the better. That's where tattooed, motorcycle riding Quan Deep comes in. Their first attempt at a one-night stand fails, as does their second and their third, because being with Quan is more than sex. He accepts Anna on an unconditional level that she has just started to understand herself. However, when tragedy strikes Anna's family, she takes on a role that she is ill-suited for, until the burden of expectations threatens to destroy her. Anna and Quan have to fight for their chance at love, but to do that, they also have to fight for themselves. And then we have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Jade Daniels is an angry, half-Indian outcast with an abusive father, an absent mother, and an entire town that wants nothing to do with her. She lives in her own world, a world in which protection comes from an unusual source: horror movies, especially the ones where a masked killer seeks revenge on a world that wronged them. And Jade narrates the quirky history of Prufrock as if it is one of those movies. But when blood actually starts to spill into the waters of Indian Lake, she pulls us into her dizzying encyclopedic mind of blood and massed murders, and predicts exactly how the plot will unfold. Yet even as Jade drags us into her dark fever dream, a surprising and intimate portrait emerges, a portrait of the scared and traumatized little girl beneath the Jason Voorhees mask. Angry, yes, but also a girl who easily cries, fiercely loves, and desperately wants a home. A girl whose feelings are too big for her body. And then I also have on here Become You Volume 2 by Ichiko Takano. I read Volume 1 last year sometime. I think it came out the year before that, potentially, and I've been eagerly awaiting this second volume. However, even though it is listed on Goodreads as August 31st, published by Seven Seas, there's no synopsis, there's no cover. I don't know if it's actually coming out. But I thought I would mention it because I have it on my list, and I'm very, very excited. The first one is great. It follows a high school student who has dreams of becoming a musician, but he's not very good at his instrument, and so enlists the help of another boy who used to be really, really good and sort of quit music, and they sort of, form a friendship. But I don't actually know if this book is coming out or not. Moving into September, on September 7th, I have 9 titles. The first is Witch Please by Anne Aguirre. Danica Waterhouse is a fully modern witch, daughter, granddaughter, cousin, and co-owner of the Fix-It Witches, a magical tech repair shop. After a messy breakup that included way too much family feedback, Danica made a pact with her cousin. They'll keep their hearts protected and have fun without involving any of the overly opinionated Waterhouse matriarchs. Danica is more than a little exhausted navigating a long-standing family feud where Graham thinks the only good mundane is a dead one, and Danica's mother weaves floral crowns for anyone who crosses her path. 3 blocks down from the Fix-It Witches, Titus Winokur, owner of Sugar Daddy's Bakery, has family trouble of his own. After a tragic loss, all he's got left is his sister, the bakery, and a lifetime of terrible luck in love. Sure, business is sweet, but he can't seem to shake the romantic curse that's left him past 30 and still a virgin. He's decided he's doomed to be forever alone until he meets Danica Waterhouse. The sparks are instant, their attraction irresistible. For him, she's the one. To her, he's a firebomb thrown in the middle of a family war. Can a modern witch find love with an old-fashioned mundane who refuses to settle for anything less than forever? Then we have Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian. Meet Chloe Serve. She's a freshman honor student, a legging-wearing hot girl next door who also happens to be a psychopath. Her hobbies include yoga lattes, frat parties, and plotting to kill Will Bachman, a childhood friend who grievously wronged her. Chloe is one of 7 students at her DC-based college who are part of an unusual clinical study for psychopaths. Students like herself who lack empathy and can't comprehend emotions like fear or guilt. The study, led by a renowned psychologist, requires them to wear smartwatches that track their moods and movements. When one of the students in the study is found murdered in the psychology building, a dangerous game of cat and mouse begins, and Chloe goes from hunter to prey. As she races to identify the killer and put her own plan into action, she'll be forced to decide if she can trust any of her fellow psychopaths. And everybody knows you should never trust a psychopath. Then we have A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee. This is apparently going to be a Treasure Island retelling. 1826. The sun is setting on the golden age of piracy, and the legendary Dragon Fleet, the scourge of the South China Sea, is no more. Its ruthless leader, a woman only known as the Head of the Dragon, is now only a story, like the ones Xiang has grown up with all her life. She desperately wants to prove her worth, especially to her mother, a shrewd businesswoman who never seems to have enough time for Xiang. Her father is also only a story, dead at sea before Xiang was born. Her only memento of him is a pendant she always wears, a simple but plain piece of gold jewelry, but the pendant's true nature is revealed when a mysterious girl named An steals it, only to return it to Xiang in exchange for her help in decoding the tiny map scroll hidden inside. The revelation that Xiang's father sailed with the Dragon Fleet and tucked away this secret changes everything. Rumor has it that the legendary Head of the Dragon had one last treasure, the plunder of 1,000 ports, that for decades has only been a myth, a fool's journey. Xiang is convinced this map could lead to the fabled treasure. Captivated with the thrill of adventure, she joins An and her motley crew off in pursuit of the island, but the girls soon find that the sea, and especially those who sail it, are far more dangerous than the legends led them to believe. Next, we have Pa Hua and the Soul Stealer by Lori M. Lee. This is going to be a new book in the Rick Riordan Presents line. Pa Hua Moa has a bit of a reputation for being a weirdo, a lonely 11-year-old Hmong girl with the unique ability to see spirits. She spends her summer days babysitting her little brother and playing with her best friend, a cat spirit no one else can see. One day, when Pa Hua accidentally untethers an angry spirit from the haunted bridge in her neighborhood, whoops! When her brother accidentally falls sick and can't be awoken, Pa Hua fears that the bridge spirit has stolen his soul. She returns to the scene of the crime with her aunt's old shaman tools, hoping to confront the spirit and demand her brother's return. Instead, she summons a demon. Thankfully, a warrior shaman with a bit of an attitude problem shows up at the last minute and saves her butt. With the help of this guide, Pa Hua will have to find her way through the spirit worlds and rescue her brother's soul before it's too late. Little does she know, she'll have her own discoveries to make along the way. Then we have Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Welcome to Mexico City, an oasis in a sea of vampires. Domingo, a lonely garbage collecting street kid, is just trying to survive its heavily policed streets when a jaded vampire on the run swoops into his life. Atl, the descendant of Aztec blood drinkers, is smart, beautiful, and dangerous. Domingo is mesmerized. Atl needs to quickly escape the city, far from the rival narco-vampire clan relentlessly pursuing her. Her plan doesn't include Domingo, but little by little, Atl finds herself warming up to the scrappy young man and his undeniable charm. As the trail of corpses stretches behind her, local cops and crime bosses both start closing in. Vampires, humans, cops, and criminals collide in the dark streets of Mexico City. Do Atl and Domingo even stand a chance of making it out alive, or will the city devour them all? Then we have So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow. This is going to be a Little Women retelling. North Carolina, 1863. As the American Civil War rages on, the Freedom Men's colony of Roanoke Island is blossoming, a haven for the recently emancipated. Black people have begun building a community of their own, a refuge from the shadow of the old life. It is where the March family has finally been able to safely put down roots with 4 young daughters. Meg, a teacher who longs to find love and start a family of her own. Jo, a writer whose words are too powerful to be contained. Beth, a talented seamstress searching for a higher purpose. Amy, a dancer eager to explore life outside her family's home. As the 4 March sisters come into their own as independent young women, they will face first love, health struggles, heartbreak, and new horizons. But they will face it all together. Then we have The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raleigh. As an African tightrope dancer in Victorian London, Iris is used to being strange. She is certainly a strange sight for leering British audiences always eager for the spectacle of colonial curiosity. But Iris also has a secret that even strange doesn't capture. She cannot die. Haunted by her unnatural power and with no memories of her past, Iris is obsessed with discovering who she is. But that mission gets more complicated when she meets the dark and alluring Adam Temple, a member of a mysterious order called the Enlightenment Committee. Adam seems to know much more about her than he lets on, and he shares with her a terrifying revelation. The world is ending, and the committee will decide who lives and who doesn't. To help them choose a leader for the upcoming apocalypse, the committee is holding the Tournament of Freaks, a macabre competition made up of vicious fighters with fantastical abilities. Adam wants Iris to be his champion, and in return he promises her the one thing she wants most, the truth about who she really is. If Iris wants to learn about her shadowy past, she has no choice but to fight. But the further she gets in the grisly tournament, the more she begins to remember, and the more she wonders if the truth is something best left forgotten. Then we have Major Detours by Zachary Sergi. This looks to be a YA choose your own adventure type story, and I'm very excited about this. I absolutely loved choose your own adventure stuff when I was like in elementary school and junior high. So choose your path forward in this mystical interactive YA about the powers of friendship, self-discovery, and tarot. It's the summer before college, and 4 best friends, Amelia, Chase, Cleo, and Logan, are on the first leg of their road trip, inspired by the unique tarot deck that Amelia inherited from her grandmother. However, their trip full of visiting occult shops, bonding, and sightseeing takes a major detour as the friends discover that their tarot deck is more valuable and coveted than they could have ever imagined. As the friends race to finish this mystical scavenger hunt across the West Coast and uncover the mysteries of their tarot deck, it is you who will decide where to go next and how the story will end. With 4 possible final and romantic endings, you will get to make actual choices to further the friends' road trip adventure in this unique interactive novel. Will you uncover the mysteries of the tarot deck and the legacy left behind? Will you help Amelia and Chase learn and grow? And will you unravel the secrets these friends keep from each other and from themselves? Last for this date, we also have Artie and the Wolf Moon by Olivia Stevens. So this is going to be a graphic novel, and it says, after sneaking out against her mother's wishes, Artie Irvin spots a massive wolf, then watches it don a bathrobe and transform into her mom. Thrilled to discover she comes from a line of werewolves, Artie asks her mom to share everything, including the story of Artie's late father. Her mom reluctantly agrees, and to help Artie figure out her own wolf-like abilities, her mom recruits some old family friends. Artie thrives in her new community and even develops a crush on her new friend Maya. But as she learns the history of werewolves and her own parents' past, she'll find that wolves aren't the scariest things in the woods. Vampires are. Moving on to September 14th, I have 4 books for this date. The first one is The Lost Girls by Sonia Hartle. When Elton Irving turned Holly Liddell into a vampire in 1987, he promised her eternal love. But 34 years later, Elton has left her, her hair will be crimped for the rest of immortality, and the only job she can get as a forever 16-year-old is the midnight shift at Taco Bell. Holly's afterlife takes an interesting turn when she meets Rose McKay and Ida Ripley. Having also been turned and discarded by Elton, Rose in 1954, and Ida, his ex-fiancée, in 1921, they want to help her and ask her for help in return. Rose and Ida are going to kill Elton before he turns another girl. Though Holly is hurt and angry with Elton for tossing her aside, she's reluctant to kill her ex, until Holly meets Parker Care, the new girl Elton has set his sights on, and feels a quick and nerve-wracking attraction to her. Next, we have A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell. Derry and her 8 siblings live in an isolated house by the lake, separated from the rest of the world by an eerie and menacing forest. Frank, the man who raised them after their families abandoned them, says it's for their own good. After all, the world isn't safe for people with magic, and Derry feels safe most of the time, until the night her eldest sister disappears. Jane and Derry swore to each other that they'd never go into the forest, not after their last trip ended in blood, but Derry is sure she saw Jane walk into the trees. When another sibling goes missing and Frank's true colors start to show, feeling safe is no longer an option. Derry will risk anything to protect the family she has left, even if that means returning to the forest that has started calling to Derry and her missing siblings' voices. As Derry spends more time amidst the trees, her magic grows more powerful, and so does the darkness inside her. The viciousness she wants to pretend doesn't exist. But saving her siblings from the forest and from Frank might mean embracing the darkness, and that just might be the most dangerous thing of all. Then we also have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. And this is going to be The Haunting of Hill House meets Get Out. It says Marigold is running from ghosts. The phantoms of her old life keep haunting her, but a move with her newly blended family from their small California beach town to the embattled Midwestern city of Cedarville might be the fresh start she needs. Her mom has accepted a new job with Sterling Foundation that comes with a free house, one that Mari now has to share with her bratty 10-year-old stepsister Piper. The renovated, picture-perfect home on Maple Street, sitting between dilapidated houses, surrounded by wary neighbors, has its secrets. That's only half the problem. Household items vanish, doors open on their own, lights turn off, shadows walk past rooms, voices can be heard in the walls, and there's a foul smell seeping through the vents, only Mari seems to notice. Worse, Piper keeps talking about a friend who wants Mari gone, but running from ghosts is just a metaphor, right? As the house closes in, Mari learns that the danger isn't limited to Maple Street. Cedarville has its secrets too, and secrets always find their way through the cracks. And then we also have Defy the Night by Brigid Kemmerer. The kingdom of Kandala is on the brink of disaster. Rifts between sectors have only worsened since a sickness began ravaging the land, and within the royal palace, the king holds a tenuous peace with a ruthless hand. King Harriston was thrust into power after his parents' shocking assassination, leaving the younger Prince Corrick to take on the brutal role of the king's justice. The brothers have learned to react mercilessly to any sign of rebellion. It's the only way to maintain order when a sickness can strike anywhere, and the only known cure, an elixir made from delicate moonflower petals, is severely limited. Out in the wilds, apothecary apprentice Tessa Cade is tired of seeing her neighbors die, their suffering ignored by the unyielding royals. Every night, she and her best friend Wes risk their lives to steal moonflower petals and distribute the elixir to those who need it most. But it's still not enough. As rumors spread that the cure no longer works and sparks of rebellion begin to flare, a particularly cruel act from the king's justice makes Tessa desperate enough to try the impossible, sneaking into the palace. But what she finds upon her arrival makes her wonder if it's even possible to fix Kandala without destroying it first. Then I have 6 books for September 21st. The first is All These Bodies by Kendara Blake. 16 bloodless bodies, 2 teenagers, 1 impossible explanation. Summer 1958. A string of murders plagues the Midwest. The victims are found in their cars and in their homes, even in their beds, their bodies drained, but with no blood anywhere. September 19th. The Carlson family is slaughtered in their Minnesota farmhouse, and the case gets its first lead. 15-year-old Marie Catherine Hale is found at the scene. She is covered in blood from head to toe, and at first she's mistaken for a survivor, but not a drop of the blood is hers. Michael Jensen, son of the local sheriff, yearns to become a journalist and escape his small town. He never imagined that the biggest story in the country would fall into his lap, or that he would be pulled into the investigation, when Marie decides that he is the only one she will confess to. As Marie recounts her version of the story, it falls to Michael to find the truth. What really happened the night that the Carlsons were killed, and how did one girl wind up in the middle of all these bodies? Then we have Dragon Age Dark Fortress by Nunzio De Filippis. This is a collection of Dragon Age comics. It is either the 8th collection or the 5th collection. It is the 8th if you're counting every single Dragon Age comics collected together, or if you're starting with the ones that Nunzio De Filippis did himself, this is the 5th collection for him specifically. And I actually don't know much about this one because I haven't read the last 2 collections, but I absolutely love Dragon Age, and these comics actually span between Dragon Age Inquisition and the new Dragon Age 4 that will be coming out eventually, so this fills in stuff between the timelines of the games. Then we have As If on Cue by Marissa Cantor. Lifelong rivals Natalie and Reed have never been on the same team, so when their school's art budget faces cutbacks, of course Natalie finds herself up against her nemesis once more. She's fighting to direct the school's first ever student-written play, but for her small production to get funding, the school's award-winning band will have to lose it, Reed's band, and he's got no intention of letting the show go on. But when their rivalry turns into an all-out prank war that goes too far, Natalie and Reed have to face the music, resulting in the worst compromise, writing and directing a musical together. At least if they deliver a sold-out show, the school board will reconsider next year's band and theater budget. Everyone could win, except Natalie and Reed, because after spending their entire lives in competition, they have absolutely no idea how to be co-anything, and they certainly don't know how to deal with the feelings that are inexplicably, weirdly, definitely developing between them. Then we have Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. When a Reaper comes to collect Wallace Price from his own funeral, Wallace suspects he really might be dead. Instead of leading him directly to the afterlife, the Reaper takes him to a small village. On the outskirts, off the path through the woods, tucked between mountains, is a particular tea shop, run by a man named Hugo. Hugo is the tea shop's owner to locals and the ferryman to souls who need to cross over. But Wallace isn't ready to abandon the life he barely lived. With Hugo's help, he finally starts to learn about all the things he missed in life. When the manager, a curious and powerful being, arrives at the tea shop and gives Wallace 1 week to cross over, Wallace sets about living a lifetime in 7 days. Then we have Last Gamer Standing by Katie Zhao. 12-year-old Reina Cheng is the up-and-coming junior amateur day-hold gamer, competing in a VR battle royale against AI monsters and human players alike. But despite Reina's rising popularity and skills, no one knows who she is. Gaming is still a boys' club, and to protect herself against trolls, she games as the mysterious The Ruiner. When Reina qualifies as the Day-Hold Junior tournament sponsored by her favorite team, she knows she's got what it takes to win the championship title and the $10,000 prize. But when she's blackmailed and threatened to be doxxed, having her personal identity revealed by an anonymous troll, Reina will have to deal with a toxic gaming community, family complications, and the increasing pressure to win as the tournament gets underway. And then we also have Iron Widow by Shirin J. Zhao. The boys of Huaxia dream of pairing up with girls to pilot chrysalises, giant transforming robots that can battle the mecha aliens that lurk beyond the Great Wall. It doesn't matter that the girls often die from the mental strain. When 18-year-old Zaytan offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it's to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her revenge in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link between pilots and emerges from the cockpit unscathed. She is labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up chrysalises instead. To tame her unnerving yet invaluable mental strength, she is paired up with Li Shimin, the strongest and most controversial male pilot in Huaxia. But now that Zetian has a taste of power, she will not cower so easily. She will miss no opportunity to leverage their combined might and infamy to survive attempt after attempt on her life until she can figure out exactly why the pilot system works in its misogynist way and stop more girls from being sacrificed. And then finally, for September 28th, I have 8 titles. The first is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki, and this is Good Omens meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Shizuka Satomi made a deal with the devil. To escape damnation, she must entice 7 other violin prodigies to trade their souls for success. She has already delivered 6. When Katrina Wen, a young transgender runaway, catches Shizuka's ear with her wild talent, Shizuka can almost feel the curse lifting. She's found her final candidate. But in a donut shop off a bustling highway in the San Gabriel Valley, Shizuka meets Lan Tran, retired starship captain, interstellar refugee, and mother of 4. Shizuka doesn't have time for crushes or coffee dates, what with her very soul on the line, but Lan's kind smile and eyes like stars might just redefine a soul's worth. And maybe something as small as a warm donut is powerful enough to break a curse as vast as the California coastline. As the lives of these 3 women become entangled by chance and fate, a story of magic, identity, curses, and hope begins, and a family worth crossing the universe is found for. Then we have Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray. Magic doesn't exist in the broken city of Lucosa anymore, especially for girls like 16-year-old Kofi. Indentured to the notorious Night Zoo, she cares for its fearsome and magical creatures to pay off her family's debts and secure their eventual freedom. But the night her loved one's own safety is threatened by the zoo's cruel master, Kofi unleashes a power she doesn't fully understand, and the consequences are dire. As the second son of a decorated hero, Ekun is all but destined to become a son of the Six, an elite warrior, and uphold a family legacy. But on the night of his final rite of passage, a fire upends his plans. In its midst, Ekun not only encounters the Shitani, a vicious monster that has plagued the city and his nightmares for nearly a century, but a curious girl who seems to have the power to ward off the beast. Kofi's power ultimately saves Ekun's life, but his choice to let her flee dooms his hopes of becoming a warrior. Desperate to redeem himself, Ekun vows to hunt the Shitani down and end its reign of terror, but he can't do it alone. Meanwhile, Kofi believes finding the Shitani and selling it for profit could be the key to solving her own problems. Kofi and Ekun, each keeping their true motives secret from the other, form a tentative alliance and enter into the unknowns of the greater jungle, a world steeped in wild magic and untold dangers. The hunt begins, but it quickly becomes unclear whether they are the hunters or the hunted. Then we have Before We Disappear by Sean David Hutchinson. Jack Nevin's clever trickery and moral flexibility have served him well his entire life, making him the perfect assistant to the Enchantress, one of the most well-known stage magicians in early 20th century Europe. Without Jack's steady supply of stolen tricks and copycat sleight-of-hand illusions, the Enchantress's fame would have burned out long ago, not that she would ever admit it. But when they're forced to flee the continent for America, the Enchantress finds a new audience in Seattle at the 1909 Alaska-Yukon Pacific World's Fair Exposition. She and Jack are set to make a fortune until a new magician arrives on the scene. Performing tricks that defy the imagination, Laszlo's act threatens to overshadow the Enchantress and co-opt her audience. Jack has no choice but to hunt for the secrets behind Laszlo's otherworldly illusions, but what he uncovers isn't at all what he expected. What makes Laszlo's tricks possible is, unbelievably, a boy that can seemingly perform real magic. Wilhelm's abilities defy all the laws of physics. His talents are no clever sleights of hand, but even though Laszlo and Wilhelm's act threatens to destroy the life Jack and the Enchantress have built, Jack and Wilhelm have near instant connection. As the rivalry between the Enchantress and Laszlo grows increasingly dangerous and dire, Jack finds he has to choose between the woman who gave him a life and the boy who is offering him love. Next, we have Activation Degradation by Marina J. Lostatter. When Unit 4, a biological soft robot built and stored high above the Jovian atmosphere, is activated for the first time, it's in crisis mode. Aliens are attacking the Helium-3 mine it was created to oversee, and now its sole purpose is to defend Earth's largest energy resource from the invaders in ship-to-ship combat. But something's wrong. Unit 4 doesn't feel quite right. There are files in its databanks it can't account for, unusual chemical combinations roaring through its pipes, and the primers it possesses on the aliens are suspiciously sparse. The robot is under orders to seek and destroy. That's all it knows. According to its handler, that's all it needs to know. Determined to fulfill its directives, Unit 4 launches its ship and goes on the attack. but it has no idea it's about to get caught in a downward spiral of misinformation, reprogramming, and interstellar conflict. Most robots are simple tools. Unit 4 is well on its way to becoming something more. Then we have Summer Sons by Lee Mandello. Andrew and Eddie did everything together. Best friends bonded more deeply than brothers, until Eddie left Andrew behind to start his graduate program at Vanderbilt. 6 months later, only days before Andrew was to join him in Nashville, Eddie dies of an apparent suicide. He leaves Andrew a horrible inheritance, a roommate he doesn't know, friends he never asked for, and a gruesome phantom with bleeding wrists that mutters of revenge. As Andrew searches for the truth of Eddie's death, he uncovers the lies and secrets left behind by the person he trusted most, discovering a family history soaked in blood and death. Whirling between the backstabbing academic world where Eddie spent his days and the circle of hot boys, fast cars, and hard drugs that ruled Eddie's nights, the walls Andrew has built against the world begin to crumble, letting in the phantom that hungers for him. Then we have For All Time by Shanna Miles. Tamar is a headstrong slave in Mali, a high school junior with a terminal illness on a last chance trip, a young woman struggling for independence in a segregated train car steaming her toward an arranged marriage. She is a musician, a warrior, a survivor. Fayard is a soldier that must obey all the rules set before him, a charming high school senior who wishes to give his high school sweetheart a promise ring, a lost young man who runs numbers for King Fats in Chicago. He is a con man, a pioneer, a hopeless romantic. Together, Tamar and Fayard have lived 1,000 lives, seen the world go through revolutions and civil wars, and have even watched humanity take to the stars. But in each life, one thing remains the same. Tamar and Fayard fall in love. Tamar and Fayard fight to be with each other. Tamar and Fayard die. Over and over again until, perhaps at last, they learn what it will take to break the cycle. And then we have Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat. The ancient world of magic is no more. Its heroes are dead, its halls are ruins, and its great battles between light and dark are forgotten. Only the stewards remember, and they keep their centuries-long vigil, sworn to protect humanity if the Dark King ever returns. 16-year-old Doc Boy Will is on the run, pursued by the men who killed his mother. When an old servant tells him of his destiny to fight beside the stewards, Will is ushered into a world of magic where he must train to play a vital role in the oncoming battle against the Dark. As London is threatened by the Dark King's return, the reborn heroes and villains of a long-forgotten war begin to draw battle lines. But as the young descendants of Light and Dark step into their destined roles, old allegiances, old enmities, and old flares are awakened. Will must stand with the last heroes of the Light to prevent the fate that destroyed their world from returning to destroy his own. And then finally we have The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. In a boarded-up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried out among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. And so that is all 65 titles that I am excited for. Yeah, 65 titles. When am I ever going to get the time to read them all? I don't know, but I am genuinely excited about every single one. I actually did go through when I was making this list and tried to find ones that I wasn't as excited for so I wouldn't have to tell you about them. I couldn't cut the list down any further. 65 titles coming out in the next 3 months. I mean, so many good sounding books. So I'm very, very excited. I am curious, especially since I know these are obviously tailored to my choice of books. Is there a book that you were very excited for in the next 3 months? And is it one that I mentioned on this list or not? Because I'm sure there are tons of other good books coming out that I have no idea about. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos up Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye!